Hello, my name is Natalie Stevens, and these are my book reviews along with some hands-on activities that you can use in your classroom. The first book that I have chosen is In the Park, an Excursion in 4 Languages, written by Esther Hautzig and illustrations by Ezra Jack Keats. A summary of the book would be that it takes you along a journey of 4 countries. And the first one focuses on New York. But it's in these 4 places, they mention these people doing the same things, just in different places. So there are similarities in their actions, but just different visual differences. So they focus on New York City, Paris, Moscow, and Madrid, and they just focus on things that you see in the park that you would normally see just in different places. So you would still see squirrels, you would still see playgrounds, and what's neat about this book is because it's an excursion in 4 languages, it has how you say these words in different languages. It's very neat. But they focus on the zoo. And in the back of the book, it gives you the different languages that you can say these in. So they say it in, of course, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. It's very neat. But all of the words that they said throughout the book, you can say it in all 4 languages. A hands-on activity that you can do with this book is, because it is focused for more 3rd and 4th grade, because I don't think in the younger grades, children even really know that there are other languages. However, in 3rd and 4th grade, they are beginning to be introduced to more languages. So the activity that they can do with this book is have those 4 cities, New York City, Moscow, Paris, and Madrid, and match these words that they learned throughout the book that were mentioned with the teacher's help. So the teacher will help them know, well, does this word sound Spanish? Does this word sound Russian? And they can do it together, but they match these words to the correct country, just to help them kind of differentiate where these different languages are coming from. The next book that I have chosen is I Can Do Hard Things, Mindful Affirmations for Kids. And it's by Gabby Garcia, and it's illustrated by Charity Russell. The summary of this book is that it teaches children that sometimes the world tells us how we should be, how we should act, and how we should look, but there's always a voice in our head telling us the way that we feel like we should be. So, with that being said, for example, it says, I don't always feel brave, confident, or strong. Sometimes it seems easier to follow others along, but you kind of learn to listen to a voice that's in your head that's telling you that you're enough. What you're doing is enough. You know what to do. You know what the right thing is. You just always listen to that voice. And it mentions a child who is physically challenged, and it helps him to remember that he too can do hard things, even though he's constantly challenged. This book is I used this book for the first day of school, along with the activity that I'm going to mention, just because the first day of school is always hard, but it also may be more challenging for others. But the activity that they can do with this book, and what we did, was that your students can draw a picture, and this is more so for kindergarten to 1st grade, but honestly, I love this book so much that I use it with all of my classes, no matter what the age group is, because affirmations are so crucial for all students. I don't think that they really know how to celebrate themselves. So I love this book really for all ages. but this is mostly for kindergarten to first grade. But the activity that they can do is to draw a picture of them doing something hard, but not necessarily something physically challenging, like to turn flips or do some sort of acrobatics, but to do something that they find challenging morally, like making a hard decision that they know that they have to listen to that voice in their head, and just kind of draw me an illustration of what that hard thing looks like. And then with a partner, they switch out their illustrations and kind of discuss like why that hard thing is challenging for them. And then at the end of the activity, those two kind of make a pact to help one another out throughout the school year, to help each other with that hard thing, kind of be their own little cheerleader throughout the year. So they make that connection, and then they kind of follow through with it the rest of the year. And the next book that I have chosen, and I actually just read this book, but this is Martin's Big Words. And the summary of this book is that it shows how all of Martin Luther King Jr.'s big words have changed an entire country, just flipped it over on its head. And it kind of shows that words can be more meaningful than you think. So throughout this book, the illustrations are just incredible. But let's see, sorry. But it is by Doreen Rappaport and illustrated by Brian Collier. But it's the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it goes through Martin's life, just kind of a summary of how Martin Luther King's beginnings molded him into the great speaker and leader that he was. But on every page, it mentions some of Martin Luther King's most popular and moving words. For example, "You are as good as anyone." Of course, well, that was what his mother said, but his words like, "Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." And it shows how Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. helped pave the way for equal rights in America. But the activity that what I have actually done just recently with my kids the week before Martin Luther King Day was we created a flip book, and this is what you can do too for first to third grade. I think the ages were 6 to 8, but to first to third grade. But you create a flip book, and for each flip on the cover, for the 4 sections, for each cover you would write some of Dr. Martin Luther King's most moving phrases, the ones that were mentioned in the book. So there are several, but you can choose 4. Of course, there are so many to choose from, but for example, "Love is the key to the problems of the world." So the ones that I chose were the first one, "Everyone can be great." "Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." The third one, "Love is the key to the problems of the world." And then the last one, which is probably one of the most relevant ones for teachers who teach in Alabama. But I have a dream that one day that in Alabama, little black boys and little black girls will join hands with little white boys and little white girls as sisters and brothers. And underneath these important phrases, the students will either draw a picture or write an explanation of what those phrases mean. So with groups, if they would like, which I love to do group activities anyway, I find the kids get a little bit more out of bouncing ideas off of one another. But for students who may be physically challenged, if they don't have the ability to write as long for these explanations, they can draw pictures. But honestly, if students want to draw and write sentences and explanation, then that is totally fun. But yeah, and then they color, and then that's it. All right, thank you so much.